Hi everyone, this is Dikshit. Welcome to my channel. In this video, we will going to discuss about monitoring production grade Jenkins by using Prometheus, Grafana, and InfluxDB. We need to know one thing, how it is important for a development team to monitor application statistics. Likewise, it is also very important for Jenkins administrator to monitor Jenkins metrics like number of nodes, number of executors, build queue, important job metrics like failed builds, successful builds, aborted builds, and many other important statistics as well. So that's where dashboard will be very handy. So which has all those mentioned metrics. So that is what we will be doing in this video. We will going to create a dashboard which will have all the important metrics to monitor Jenkins. And the prerequisite to watch this video, you need to know the basics of Docker, Jenkins, Prometheus, Grafana, InfluxDB, and SQL queries. Now let me show you the dashboard that we will be creating in this particular video. So this is a dashboard that I'll be creating in this video. If you watch the video completely, then you'll also be able to replicate the same dashboard in your environments as well. Now let me briefly explain about each panel in the dashboard. And also dashboard has a couple of dropdowns. Let me also explain about dropdowns as well. So this is a folder dropdown. Here it shows all the folder names which are there in the Jenkins. Let me show you in Jenkins itself. You can see that there are two folders, which are call booking admin and call booking user. These two are folders and the same folder names, which will be shown in the Grafana dashboard as well. And the next dropdown is job dropdown. So it will show all the jobs which are there in the Jenkins. And also this dropdown is reactive to the folder dropdown. So that means when I select a specific folder in folder dropdown, so then according to that, the job dropdown will be updated and shows only jobs which are there in the selected folder. And by default, folder and job dropdowns are set to all. So that means dashboard stores statistics related to all the folders, all the jobs by default. If you want to change any folder, any job, so then you need to change this dropdowns, and according to that, the dashboard will gonna update the data and shown in the dashboard. Next, we have a time frame selector, which helps to see the data for a specific time frame. So let's say I want to see last 24 hours data, then I can select last 24 hours for which few panels data will be updated and shown in the dashboard. And now let's discuss about panels. The first panel is Jenkins Health panel. So it shows Jenkins status, whether it is up and running or not. If Jenkins is up, so then it shows up and the background color will be set to green. If Jenkins is down, so then it will display down and the background color will be set to red. And the next panel shows very important statistics which are related to Jenkins, which are Jenkins node count, build queue, executor count. By looking at these statistics, Jenkins administrator can take a decision. Like let's say queue count is more and nodes are less. In that case, administrator of Jenkins can add sleeves so that jobs will get the nodes to execute the pipeline. And vice versa as well. Let's say, for example, the queue size is 0, but there are so many nodes which are attached to Jenkins. So in that case, administrator can reduce the number of nodes by which we can reduce the cost as well. And this panel is reactive to time frame dropdown. So if we change the time, so then the graph will be updated according to the time frame. And next few panels are related to pipeline statistics. So overall panel, this is a pie chart which shows the percentage of successful, failed, aborted, and unstable builds. This panel is reactive to folder, job, and time frame dropdowns. Let me change the folder dropdown to call booking user. It shows statistics related to only that particular folder. And now let me also change the job to the user API. And you can see that overall panel has been updated according to the drop-down selections. Also, let me change the time frame to 24 hours and see what happens to the overall panel. You can see that the data is displayed for the last 24 hours now. And next few panels, which are number of pipelines ran, total number of builds, average build time, latest build status, and build details panels are also related to job statistics. And these panels are also reactive to folder dropdown, job dropdown, and also time frame dropdown. Number of pipelines ran panel shows how many pipelines ran within a given time frame, and depending on the selection of the folder dropdown and job dropdown. And the next panel, which is total number of builds panel, shows number of build count, which is sum of successful builds, failed builds, aborted builds, and unstable builds. And of course, this also depends on what we have selected in the folder dropdown and job dropdown and time frame as well. An average build time panel shows the average time taken by pipelines to run. And latest build status, as name says, this shows the latest pipeline build, which can be either successful, failure build, aborted build, or unstable build. It can be anything. So it shows the status of the latest build. And then we have a table, which is build details. So which is a table that you can see here, and which will provide more information about the pipeline run. Gives the details like executed time, project path, build number, build causer, build time, and build result. Also, we can click on project path. So this redirects to Jenkins build page. Let me click on one of the link. You can see that it will be redirected to the Jenkins build page of a respective build. And next few panels are related to plugins, which shows a number of active plugins, inactive plugins, and also this particular panel shows how many plugins needs the update. In my case, it's 0. So that means my Jenkins is up to date and it is good as well. And so that's all about this particular dashboard. We can have few more panels, which is like as a information about memory, heap memory, and CPU statistics. But that will be too much for one single video. So let me know in the comment section if you want me to do another video on this. So now I don't have any production grade Jenkins, but to create and test the dashboard, we need a Jenkins. So let's bring up the setup for the Jenkins. Before bringing up the setup, so let me explain the steps to create the environment where we will have Jenkins, Prometheus, Grafana, and InfluxDB. Setup steps are very straightforward. So first I need to have a server where Docker is installed. And then once Docker is installed, I'm going to bring up Jenkins, Prometheus, Grafana, and InfluxDB on a Docker container. Once these containers are up and running, so then what I will do is I will going to install required plugins in Jenkins. Like if I want to communicate with InfluxDB, so then InfluxDB related plugins I need. And then if I want to connect with Prometheus, Prometheus plugins should be installed. And once those plugins are installed, I will gonna provide the information about my Prometheus and also information about InfluxDB. So once these things are done, so I'm gonna configure Prometheus and InfluxDB in such a way that that can accept the data from Jenkins. So that is what I'll be doing. So once that is done, so I'm gonna create few folders, few jobs in the Jenkins to put the data over Prometheus and InfluxDB. So once data is available in Prometheus and InfluxDB, so I'm gonna add the data sources in the Grafana. And once data sources has been added, I will start creating the panels in the dashboard. So these are the steps that I'm gonna follow to set up my environment. Once the environment is ready, so then I'll be able to start creating the dashboard. Now let's start the setup. To do the setup, we need one virtual machine. In my case, I've created a virtual machine in Google Cloud, and that is where I'll be logging into that particular machine, and I'm going to install Docker, and I'm going to do the setup. So in your case, if you want to use like AWS or Azure machines, you can feel free to use it. And only certain settings that you need to change, because if you want to access Jenkins, Prometheus, Grafana over a browser, then you need to enable inbound and outbound rules. So that you need to make sure. Other than that, you can feel free to go for any of the cloud, any of the machine. You will be able to replicate the same setup. And if you don't know how do we create a virtual machine in Google Cloud, in a couple of my previous videos, I've already shown how do we create it. So please refer those particular videos. And now I have machine which is created. So which is a Ubuntu OS. So let me connect to that particular one. I'm going to use SSH and then IP of the machine. So now once I provide this particular command, you can see that I'm able to log into that particular machine. Now I'll do sudo su because just to avoid any permission issues. So I've logged in as a root user. Now I'll be executing the commands to install Docker and also to bring up the containers which are related to Jenkins, Prometheus, and Grafana. So to install Docker, so I have a repository where I have listed all the commands already. So which is Dikshit SN cheat sheet repository. I'm going to provide this link also in the video's description. You can go ahead and you can refer it from video's description. So in this particular repository, the document is installation guide for Ubuntu. Let me open this and here let me search for installation commands for Docker. So I need for Docker, right? So this is where, so as my OS is Ubuntu, so these steps will gonna work fine. So let me select all the commands till this particular Docker CLI installation. So let me copy it and put it over my VM. So it's gonna take a couple of seconds to install prerequisites and Docker itself. Now Docker has been installed. To verify whether the installation has been successful or not, so let's execute Docker PS command. So if it executes successfully, so then that means Docker has been installed. Now, so we will bring up first Jenkins container. So for that, let me take help of hub.docker.com webpage. So let me do hub.docker.com. Here, I'm going to search for Jenkins official image. So through that official image, I'm going to bring up my Jenkins. So let me search for Jenkins. So this is hub.docker.com. In that, I'm searching for Jenkins. And you can see that this is an official image, but you can see here the message which is duplicated and use Jenkins/Jenkins. So this particular image, they are recommending it to use this particular image. So that's the reason I'm going to click on this. And now I'm going to select this particular image. And then let me write the command now. Docker run. Either we can pull the image and then we can start the container, but we can, by using Docker run itself, we can start the container. If the image is not there in the machine, it will going to pull it from the hub.docker.com. This is a default behavior of Docker. So that's the reason I'm writing Docker run instruction directly. Docker run. And then after that, I'm going to provide -d. I want to run this particular container in a daemon mode. So that's the reason I'm providing -d. And then I want to publish this particular container at 8080 port. So that means whenever there is a request at nodes 8080 port, then I want to send it to the 8080 port of the container. So that's the reason I'm using this publish port. So whatever we give left side of this colon, which is node port, that means whatever which comes to the node at 8080 port will be redirected to this container 8080 port. And then, so I need to provide the image name. So let me copy it from hub.docker.com. So this is an image that I'm going to use. This particular image. So now once I provide the image name, so then I'll press on enter. Now the image is not present in local. So that's the reason it is downloading from the hub.docker.com. And once it downloads the image, so then it will going to start the container as well. And likewise, we will also bring up Prometheus, Grafana, and InfluxDB. For these, already in my repository, the commands are there. So let me go to one of the repository, which is Prometheus repository. Here I have already commands, Docker commands to bring up Prometheus, Grafana, and InfluxDB because I need a specific version. So that's why I've already constructed the commands. So first, now let's bring up Prometheus. So to bring up Prometheus, so first, I need to make sure that configuration file should be there in my local. You can see that. So here in this particular command, I'm running in a daemon mode and I'm providing the container name and I'm mounting some file from the machine onto the container. So I want to make sure that this particular file should be there in the node first. So for that is a reason wherein let me create this particular file in my machine under like home SND directory. So I'm already there under that particular directory. Now, let me basically create that particular file, vi prometheus.yml. And under this particular file, so I need to have the configuration. So for that configuration, what I will do is, so I have also given the info link here. Let me go to that particular Prometheus documentation. So this redirects to hub.docker.com itself. Here, when I scroll it down a little bit, so they've given sample configuration file also. So try this example is there, right? I'm going to click on this and I'll get the configuration file, sample configuration file. So I'm going to copy this and I'm gonna put it under this configuration file. And if you don't know what is Prometheus, what does it does, and like how do we configure it, how do we install it? If you want to know more about Prometheus, then I have a complete playlist on Prometheus. I'm gonna provide that playlist link in the video's description. You can go ahead and you can watch it. So now basic configuration has been kept under prometheus.yml. And once this is done, so then I need to copy this particular Prometheus Docker command, and then I need to execute it. So here I'm not doing anything. I'm running it in a daemon mode, and I'm providing the configuration file. And you can see here, I'm also publishing the port. So that means I should be able to access Prometheus over 9090 port. So let me copy this particular command, and then I will gonna execute it on my Docker host. So now let me press an enter. So now you can see that that particular image is not there in my Docker host. So that's the reason it is pulling the image, and then it'll gonna start the container. So we'll wait for a few seconds. The pull will be completed. And also you can see that now the container has been created. Let me check that. So let me do Docker PS. Let's see the health of Jenkins and Prometheus. You can see that Jenkins is up and running since 2 minutes, and Prometheus is also up and running since 9 seconds. And let's bring up other two containers also, which is InfluxDB and Grafana. For Grafana, this is a command, very simple command, docker run -d. I want to run it in a daemon mode, and I'm providing some name for Grafana container. And then I'm publishing the port for Grafana at 3000. So this is node port, and this is the container port where Grafana application or a service which is running inside the container. And I'm using Grafana 8.5.5 version. So if you want to use any other version, so then there might be chances that whatever the panel types that I use might be changed in the upgraded versions. So this is a little bit old version. If you go for a newer versions, so then whatever the panels that I'll be selecting while creating a dashboard might be deferred actually. Okay, so please select this particular version itself. So I'm gonna go with 8.5.5. Let me copy this particular command and put it over my Docker host. So again, this particular image is not there in local. So that's why it is pulling, and it's gonna bring up the container. And then the last container that we need to bring it up is InfluxDB. Again, this is a specific version. You can see that I'm using a specific version. If you go for latest version of InfluxDB, all the queries, the way we execute a queries in InfluxDB has been changed. So that's the reason I'm specifically selecting this particular version. And now let me execute this particular command also. Here, InfluxDB runs on 8086 port. So that's the reason you can see I'm publishing 8086 as the port. And let's wait for this container to come up. Once this is done, let's check the status of all 4 containers. You can see that Jenkins is up and running, and Prometheus is up and running, and also Grafana is up and running. So now we need to configure all the tools. So first, let me access Jenkins. To access Jenkins, I'm gonna copy the IP of the machine. I'll go to the browser. Let me go to the browser, and I'm gonna provide this IP, and then I will gonna provide the port, which is 8080, default port where my Jenkins is running. And we need to set up Jenkins. So it is asking the initial password. Now let me log into the Jenkins container, docker exec-it, and this is the Jenkins container ID. I'm gonna take that, and I'm gonna log into that particular one. So docker exec-it, and the container ID and the bash is what I'm giving. So once that is done, so I will do a cat on the initial password file. So once I do that, I will gonna get the initial password. So let me copy this initial password and provide it onto this particular text box. Once I do that, I can click on continue. And once I click on continue, it'll gonna give me a page where it'll gonna ask me to install the plugins. So I'm gonna go with install suggested plugins, because I don't want to select any plugins and then I want to install it, because it will be a big list. Rather than that, if we install suggested plugins, that it'll gonna install all the required plugins, default required plugins for the Jenkins. So that's the reason I'll choose that install suggested plugins. Now it'll gonna take some time to install all the default and required plugins. So meanwhile, what we can do is we can also access Prometheus and Grafana. Let me access Prometheus. Prometheus runs on different port, so which is 9090. So let me access Prometheus. And now you can see that Prometheus is coming up, web page is coming up. So let's see the targets. You can see that in a default configuration, right? We added one target. Anyway, we need to add the information about Jenkins, right? So that time I'll gonna explain about how to add targets and how do we restart Prometheus. I'll gonna discuss about that. But you can see that I'm able to access the Prometheus. Prometheus is up and running. And also let's access Grafana. I'll gonna duplicate the tab, and Grafana runs on 3000 port. So let me access that as well. Now you can see that login page for Grafana is loading up. Let me provide the default username, which is admin, and the password will also be admin itself. So let me provide that. Now, once you enter the default username and password, it'll gonna ask you to enter the new password and confirm password. So here I'm gonna give password as my password. Again, I'm gonna give password. So once this is done, so you can see that now I'm inside Grafana. So now all the tools are up and running. So let's see what is the status of installation of plugins. It is still getting installed. So meanwhile, what we can do is to accept the data from Jenkins to InfluxDB, we need to do some prerequisites. We need to log into the InfluxDB, and then we need to create some database. So that we will do it. So let me do that particular things. So let me log into the InfluxDB container. So to do that, I will gonna do docker exec -it, and I'm gonna give the container ID, InfluxDB's container ID, which is this, and then bash. Once I provide that, I'll be inside my, okay, I'm already inside Jenkins container, so that's the reason that it failed. So let me come out of Jenkins container, and let me again execute this particular command. And now I'm inside InfluxDB container. So first, to connect to the InfluxDB, so I need to execute influx command. So once I do that, now I'm connected to InfluxDB. And here we need to execute few commands to create a database. So for that, again, I'll go to Prometheus repository. As I mentioned, I'm going to provide this repositories link in the description. You can go ahead and you can refer it. Now in InfluxDB, I need to create a database with retention policy. So that is what I'll be doing it. So now let me copy this particular command and put it here. Now a database would have been created. To see the databases, so I need to execute show databases. So it will gonna show database list of databases. This is already default database, which is underscore internal. So this is a database that I have created, which is Jenkins. And now the database has been created, and there are no tables which I've created. So that will be created by Jenkins itself. So now what I will do is I'll go back to this particular web page, Jenkins web page. You can see that plugin installations are done. So now what I will do is I'll gonna provide username, password for the admin user. I'll give admin for everything, and also email ID also admin@admin.com. Once this is done, let me click on save and continue. Once I do that, again, it will gonna show me a page. What should be your Jenkins URL? So let it be the default one itself. Save and finish. And now I'm ready to use my Jenkins. So once the Jenkins is ready to use, first and foremost thing that you need to do is you need to install few plugins, which are Prometheus related plugins and also InfluxDB related plugins. So let me do that. To do that, you need to go for manage plugins, and under manage plugins, go for available plugins and then search for InfluxDB. InfluxDB. Here we need to install two plugins, one to store pipeline information, the other to store stage information and folder information. For this, we need this particular plugin. So that's the reason I'm going to select both the plugins and click on install without restart. Once I select and click on install without restart, it'll gonna install all the dependent plugins and Influx, whatever the plugins that I've selected, those will also be installed. And if it depend on some other plugin, even that dependent plugins will also be installed. So meanwhile, while installing this particular InfluxDB plugin, we will also install Prometheus related plugins. So for that, again, I'll go to manage plugins and go to available plugins and search for Prometheus plugin. Prometheus metrics plugin. So this is the only one plugin which is related to Prometheus that I need to install. So let me install that particular one. You can see that list which is getting installed. It will gonna take a few more seconds to get installed all the Prometheus and InfluxDB related plugins. So once that is installed, so we need to restart our Jenkins, because if you don't restart, so then whatever the plugins that we have installed won't be loaded properly. Now all the plugins are installed. So now you can see that if you want to load the plugins properly, so then you need to restart the Jenkins. So that is what it is suggesting here. So that's why what I will do is in the URL of Jenkins, I will gonna do a restart. Start. So when I do that, now what will happen is Jenkins will be restarted. And as I'm using the containers, right? So when I do a restart, the container, Jenkins container would have been stopped. So I will show you that. Docker PS, when I do that, now you can see that in up and running status, only 3 containers are there. One in InfluxDB, Grafana, and Prometheus. But Jenkins is in stopped state. So what I will do is Docker PS-A, which will gonna show running and stopped container. You can see that Jenkins container is there in the stopped state. So that's the reason what I will do is Docker start and the container ID of the Jenkins. I'm gonna copy that and I will gonna start my Jenkins container here. So once I do that, let me go back to the browser and you can see that Jenkins is getting restarted. Please wait for that. So in few more seconds, I will be able to access my Jenkins. So once Jenkins is up and running, so then I need to provide the information about my InfluxDB. Information about Prometheus, I don't need to provide. So why? Because I'll show you why I don't need to provide information about Prometheus. So I'm giving username and password. So now I'm able to log into the Jenkins. So let me go to manage Jenkins. I need to provide information about my InfluxDB. So if I want to provide it, so then I need to go for configure system. Let me click on this configure system. So this is a page where we're going to configure all the plugin related information. So let me click on configure system and here InfluxDB information I need to provide. So InfluxDB will gonna run on 8086 port, right? So that we need to remember. Here in this page, let me search for Influx. And you can see that InfluxDB here. Also, we need to configure the details. Here, let me give the description. InfluxDB. Anything, any meaningful information is enough here. Description. So InfluxDB and the URL, this is very important. So HTTP, and then I need to provide the machine IP. In my case, this is a machine IP. Let me take that and provide it here. And then once that is done, so InfluxDB will be running on 8086 port. So that is also I need to provide it. And once that is done, so credentials, organization, you don't need to fill it because those are not mandatory fields. But database, I need to fill it. If you remember or not, we executed this particular command to create the database. So database name, that Jenkins will store the data. So this particular database I've created, right? I'm making sure that all the data from the Jenkins will be flushed onto this particular database. So that's the reason in the configuration, we need to provide the database where Jenkins can insert the data. Okay, so I'm providing Jenkins as a database name and the retention policy. As we have already created a retention policy, which is called as Jenkins retention. So let me take that and provide that particular retention policy here. So once I provide all this information, let me click on test connection. When I do this test connection, I should be able to see connection successful. And once this is done, there are few more options that I need to enable. Global listener. So when I enable this particular option for all the pipelines, it will gonna send the details about the build information. Like let's say, for example, whether the build is successful or not, how much time it has taken, what is the status of that particular build. All the information will be sent to my InfluxDB. If I don't choose this, so then it won't send all the pipelines data to InfluxDB. I need to select this. So global listener. So that means for every job, the information will be sent to the InfluxDB. But if you want to filter out only few jobs, then you can filter out by using this text box. But I don't want to do that. I want to get the data of all the pipelines to my InfluxDB. So that's the reason I'm enabling it. And also while inserting, this particular plugin inserts the data to InfluxDB, right? While inserting the data, for every data I need timestamp to be added and then insert it is what I'm trying to say by enabling this particular option. So these three options should be enabled. That is mandatory. And once this is done, this is for pipeline data, to store the pipeline data. But if you want the stage data, let's assume how much time each stage is taking and how much time each pipeline is taking. If you want to get that kind of information, so then we need to configure this auto status config also. Here I will gonna choose send data to InfluxDB. Again, here I need to provide the information about InfluxDB. So InfluxDB is running at this particular machine itself. So that's why I will gonna give same IP, but the port is 8086. Let me provide that. And database name is Jenkins. So I'm going to provide that also. And the retention policy name is Jenkins retention. I will going to copy it from here and I will going to provide it again under the retention policy. And that's it. So once you provide this information, you can go ahead and you can save it. So now the information about InfluxDB has been provided to Jenkins. So we can create the jobs and we can see whether the Jenkins data, whether the data has been going to the InfluxDB or not. But before that, I will also show that why we don't need to configure information about Prometheus. So Jenkins, when we install Prometheus plugin, what it does is it will just expose one endpoint, which is called as /Prometheus. Prometheus. When I execute this URL, you can see that it will as a data which Prometheus can accept. In Jenkins, you don't need to configure any information about Prometheus, but information about Jenkins, you need to provide it in Prometheus. Okay, again, if you don't know the basics of Prometheus, please refer my playlist. I'm going to provide it in video's description. So this is an endpoint that we need to configure it in Prometheus so that Prometheus can every time, every 15 seconds or 10 seconds, scrap the data from the Jenkins. So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to configure the information about Jenkins in the Prometheus. To do that, I need to log into the machine again. So let me log into the machine. And if you remember or not, we store the Prometheus configuration in home SND directory itself. I'm going to open that particular thing, prometheus.yml. Here, I need to configure the information about my Jenkins. So that is what I will be doing. So first thing is I need to provide some job name. I'm going to copy paste these things itself. So I'm going to modify according to mine. That's all I'll try to do. So let me copy this job name, which is Prometheus, right? So I'm going to copy that. And this is a YML file. The indentation should be very, very proper. If the indentation is wrong, so then your Prometheus will be not up and running. So I'm going to provide the job name as Jenkins. So what this job does is it's going to collect the information from Jenkins. That is what it does. And also the next thing is I need to specify the metric path because in Prometheus, if any endpoint that you want to monitor, so if it is /metrics, then you don't need to provide it. But in my case, if you remember, if I want to get the Prometheus metrics, then it will be available under /Prometheus. So that's the reason I need to configure that metric path. So metric path in the single quote, I will gonna copy this Prometheus value and I'm gonna provide it here. And once this is done, so I need to provide the static configs. So let me copy that and paste it. And here, this is where I will gonna give the information about my Jenkins. So my Jenkins is running at this particular machine and on 8080 port, right? So that's what I'm gonna copy this IP address and will provide the information. I don't need to provide any HTTP information here. So I'll remove that particular one. Machine IP : so what port the Jenkins is up and running. So those two things I need to provide. And once that is done, I'm going to save this particular config file. So once this is done, I need to restart Prometheus container because I've updated the configurations related to Prometheus. So now by using Docker restart command, so I will gonna restart Prometheus, Docker restart, and the container ID of the Prometheus is this. I will gonna take this and I will gonna execute this particular command. So which is Docker restart, the container ID of the Prometheus. Once I do that, so Docker container related to Prometheus will be restarted. You can see that all the 4 containers are up and running. And you can see that 4 seconds ago, which has been restarted. And since 4 seconds ago, Prometheus is up and running. To see that whether Prometheus really has information about Jenkins or not, we can go ahead and see it in UI as well. Let me go to Prometheus and let me click on the status and click on targets. Here we can see that only one particular target is there because I didn't refresh. So that's the reason. So now when I refresh, you can see that there are 2 endpoints. One is Jenkins, the other one is Prometheus. Both the endpoints are up and running. So that means Prometheus is able to communicate with Jenkins and get the data. So that is what it does mean. Now we have configured the information about Jenkins in Prometheus and also InfluxDB's information in Jenkins. So that has been done. So now what I will do is I will gonna create some data in InfluxDB. If I want to do so, so then I need to create few folders, few jobs to send the data to the InfluxDB. First and foremost thing, I'll create a folder. So I'll gonna create call booking. So this is one of the microservice that I've deployed in one of my recent videos. So that's the reason I'm giving same folder names and application names. Call booking admin. And this is a folder that I want to create. And also one more folder I will create. So which is call booking user. So let me create new item and call booking user I'm gonna provide. And then I will select folder and click on OK. Under this particular user folder, let me create few jobs. So I will gonna say user -API. And once that is done, so I will gonna click on this pipeline. This should be a pipeline job. So that's the reason I'm selecting that and click on OK. And this is a sample job. Maybe I will gonna select some sample code to be executed. So here we can see that try sample pipelines are there, right? I will gonna select this hello world. And you can see that hello world pipeline has been printed here. So that is fine for me. So let me save it here. And now let's click on build now. And now when I do that, you can see that a job has been triggered and it's going to take some time to execute this and to make it successful. And if the InfluxDB information has been successfully configured and if it is able to connect, right? So in every job, at the end of the job execution, you should be able to see this particular information. You can see that now InfluxDB plugin is collecting the data and inserting the data to Jenkins database over this particular endpoint. That means my connection between Jenkins and InfluxDB is working fine. So once this is done, so again, let me do a few more runs. And likewise, let me create one more job here. So which is user UI, user-UI. And this is again a pipeline job. And let me click on OK. And then, so once this is done, right? So let me again go to pipeline script, choose hello world script, and let me create few more stages here in this particular pipeline. I don't want only one stage, and I want a couple of stages. I will say this is a clone stage, and this as build stage. Okay, let me save it, and then again, click on build now. I'm creating a very simple and sample jobs, that's all, because we are more interested to create dashboard here, not the jobs. So in call booking user, I've created 2 jobs. Likewise, I will be creating few jobs in call booking admin as well. So let me click on new item and let me provide admin-UI and then select pipeline and click on OK. So once I do this, so it's going to open me a pipeline job page, and here I will going to select hello world again. And let me create a couple of stages here also. And I will say this is stage 1, stage 2, and let me save it. And let me initiate few builds. I clicked 3-4 times so that 3-4 builds will be initiated. And again, let me click on new item. I will gonna create one more job here, which is admin API. So now once this is done, I'm gonna select pipeline. And for this particular job also, I will gonna select the sample template, which is hello world template, and save it, and then build now. So this is to generate the data in InfluxDB. That's all. Okay, now folders and pipelines has been created. Now let's go ahead and check whether in InfluxDB the data has been inserted or not. So let me log into the InfluxDB. To do that, docker exec-it, and then I'm gonna give the container ID and bash. So once I do that, I'll be inside my InfluxDB container. And now let me execute influx command. So now I'll be connected to my InfluxDB. So first and foremost thing is I need to execute use Jenkins command so that it will be going into the Jenkins database. Here, this is where I will have the tables which will be created from my Jenkins. So let's see what are all the tables that it will be created. So for that, I need to execute show tables. So there is a typo. Maybe I will just again execute it. Show tables are like in InfluxDB, it is not like show tables. It should be show measurements. Okay. So I need to execute show measurements. You can see that now my Jenkins has been created these many tables: Jenkins data, job, and metric data, stage. All these tables has been created by Jenkins itself. So now we can do a select query. So let me do select star, and then let me do it on a Jenkins data from Jenkins data. So when I do that, all the data in the Jenkins data table will be shown for me. You can see that a lot of information about each build has been stored in this particular one. Okay, so we will gonna see while creating a dashboard, we will gonna discuss more about this SQL query. So that's the reason in my prerequisites of this video, I mentioned that if you have SQL queries knowledge, so then it's an added advantage to watch this particular video. So let's see that. I will going to take the queries and I'll try to explain it in a simplest manner. So now the data is coming from Jenkins to the InfluxDB. So all the connectivity between my Jenkins, Prometheus, and InfluxDB is done. Now the data is also available in InfluxDB and Prometheus. Now we need to configure data sources in Grafana. So let me do that. So let me go to the browser, and here in the Grafana. So under the settings button, so data sources will be there. I need to click on that particular data source and click on add data source. So it's going to show you a couple of options here: Prometheus, InfluxDB, Graphite. And so there are so many options that it's going to show. In my case, I'm interested in Prometheus and InfluxDB. Let me click on this Prometheus first. And once I click on Prometheus, it'll gonna ask me to provide information about Prometheus. So I'm gonna copy this, and then I will gonna provide it in Grafana. So let me provide it. And once this is done, so that's it. I don't need to provide any other information. Click on save and test, and it'll gonna show you this particular message, which says the data source is working. So this should be the message that you'll be able to see also if everything is working fine. So once that is done, so again, I will gonna click on data source. Prometheus has been added. Now I need to add InfluxDB also, right? So now let me click on this add data source again and select InfluxDB. And here for the InfluxDB also, let me provide the same information. So InfluxDB endpoint I need to provide. IP is same because all the 4 containers I have started in the same machine, right? So that's the reason the IP remains the same, but only the port will change. Here, endpoint I need to provide. And also one more very important thing is I need to provide the database name, which I want to connect. So in my case, data is there in the Jenkins database, right? So that's the reason I'm giving Jenkins as a database name. And once this is done, click on save and test. You don't need to provide any user or a password. So once that is clicked, you can see that data source is working. So that means both the data sources has been connected, and now we can start creating the dashboard. So these are the steps that we need to do to set up the environment. Now we can go ahead and create the dashboard. Now let's start creating dashboards. So to create a new dashboard in Grafana, so then we need to go click on this plus button and then create. So this is a window that we will be able to see. In this dashboard, I can create as many number of panels that I require, as many number of rows I require. And also I have taken the screenshot of previously created dashboard. So this will act as a reference so that I can refer and I can know what is the next panel that I want to create. The first panel that I need to create in the dashboard is Jenkins Health. You can see that there's a Jenkins Health panel where if Jenkins is up and running, it shows the message up and also sets the background to the green. And if Jenkins is down, so it will gonna show the message as down and the background color will be red. So that is what we need to achieve it. And let me go to the dashboard and let's create that particular panel. So to create any panel, so then again, I need to click on add new panel. Here, when I click on add new panel, so it will gonna show me a couple of options. One is data source. I need to select where the data is coming from. So whether it is coming from Prometheus or whether it is coming from InfluxDB, I need to select that information. And health information of Jenkins, I will get it from Prometheus. So that's the reason I'll keep data source as is. And the next very important thing is here. So we need to provide Prometheus query, so which gets us the health of the Jenkins. So that we will see. We will gonna go to Prometheus and let's execute Prometheus query to get the Jenkins health. And very important thing, one more very important thing is like type of a panel. Whether you need a time series panel or like there are bunch of type of panels are available. For showing the health of Jenkins, I need a panel of type stat. So maybe I will gonna select this particular one. As soon as I select that one, so the options that I'll get will be definitely changed. So if I change it to pie chart, you can see that the options that I might get will definitely change. Now I'm interested in stat panel. So that's the reason I will gonna take stat. And now Jenkins health, we will get it from Prometheus. So that's the reason I've selected data source as Prometheus. And now let me go to the Prometheus UI. Here we have one Prometheus query, which is called as up. When I type in up and click on execute, so now what it does is it will gonna get me the health of all the endpoints which is there, which is configured in Prometheus. To see the targets or endpoints which are configured, we need to click on the status and let me click on targets. When I do that, in the Prometheus currently there are two endpoints which are configured. You can see that one for Prometheus, the other one is for Jenkins. So now if I want to get the health of this Jenkins, so that is where I've executed up query and here it gets me two health statuses. One is for Jenkins, the other one is for Prometheus. Now I am interested in Jenkins, right? So if I want to get only the health of Jenkins, so then I can take this Prometheus query and let me execute it again here. When I click on execute, you can see that it gets me only the health of the Jenkins. And then here you can see that the value is 1. So if value is 1, so then the particular endpoint or a target that I've configured is up and running and it is reachable. And if it is 0, so then the target is not reachable and it is not able to pull the data from a certain endpoint. So usually 1 means it is up and running, 0 means the respective target is down. So now let me take this particular query and put it onto the Grafana. So this is where I need to put the query. And once I put the query, so you can see that value 1 has been coming up here. And if you compare it with the previous dashboard, you can see that I'm not showing 1 here. I'm showing up if it is up and running. And also background is set to green. So I need to do those modifications in this particular panel to convert this 1 into up, a message up. So I need to use this value mapping option, which is there under stat panel. So here, what I need to do is I expand value mapping and click on add value mapping. Here, I need to say that, let's assume if I get 1, so then I want to display up in my panel is what I'm trying to say. Here, I'm doing a value mapping. If input is 1, so then I want to display up as the message in the panel. So that is what I'm trying to say. And also I can set the color for a message to display. So let me put it as green. So whenever Jenkins is up and running, so now it will gonna display up and the color of that text will be green. And now if it is up, then it will be value 1, which I'll receive it from the Prometheus. But if it is down, so then I will get 0, right? So that's the reason I need to click on add new value mapping. Value is what I need to select. And after that, again, 0. If the value is 0, so then display down. So that is what we need to do. And whenever there is a down, so I want to display it in a red color. So that is what I wanted right now. So now once that is done, so I can just click on update. Now you can see that it is showing up, not more anymore like 1, it is showing here, it is showing up. And here a few more modifications I need to do. Here I need to set the background color as well. It's not that a text color that I want to set. I want to set the background color. If Jenkins is up, background color should be green. If Jenkins is down, background color should be red. So that is what I need to do it. So for that, I will gonna use stat tails. And here, so first and foremost thing is color mode is there. Here you can see that color mode. So by default, it was selected to value. So that means whatever the value mapping color that I've selected, green and red, it will be applied to the value that it will going to display in the panel. But in my case, I don't want to do that. I want to apply the color for the background. So that's the reason I will going to choose this background. Now what will happen is if the value which is coming from Prometheus, if it is 1, the message will be up and also background color will be green. And if Jenkins is down, the value I'll get from Prometheus will be 0. And then the message will be displayed here will be down. And also the background color will be red. So we will test it. Maybe I'll gonna add one more panel and then we will make sure that Jenkins is down. And then we will see whether it will gonna update it or not. And this is one thing. And also it shows some graph actually. So I don't require any graph for this stat panel. So I'll set it as none. You can see now entire panel is showing the message and the background color. And here many other options are there. One more option that I want to use is panel options. Here I need to set the title for the panel, which is Jenkins Health. So I will take it as Jenkins Health, and also I can give a description so that if somebody wants to edit, they will come to know what is this panel is for. So that's all I need to do here. So let me click on apply. You can see that now Jenkins Health has been shown in Grafana dashboard. Next panel that we want to create is a very important panel. So let me go to the screenshot. Now you can see that the next panel will give us Jenkins node count, queue size, and executor count. So again, so let me go back to the dashboard and let me click on this add panel. Let me adjust this particular window as per the screen. And once I adjust it, I will click on this add new panel. Here, I need to choose what type of a panel it should be. In my case, as I need a graph kind of a data, so I will go with time series itself. And the next very important thing is choosing data source. In my case, again, this data comes from Prometheus itself. So that's the reason I will select it data source as Prometheus itself. And now Prometheus queries, very important Prometheus queries. So now let me go to the Prometheus and let me go to the Prometheus query window here. So we have one Prometheus query, which is executor count value. So that is the thing that I need to check, executor count value. So this is the query that gets me number of executors. Now you can see that as I'm monitoring only one Jenkins, so that's the reason I'm getting only one row here. So either I can take this query so that it will provide me one output and that I will be able to show, or else I want to be specific. Let's assume this Prometheus is used for monitoring of many Jenkins. In that case, the exact query also I can copy it. But in my case, as I'm using Prometheus for monitoring only one Jenkins, right? I can still take this particular query and I can use it in my Grafana dashboard. So it is giving me 2. So let's check whether this value is correct or not. So let me log into the Jenkins and here, let me go to manage Jenkins and under the manage Jenkins, let me go to manage nodes. And this is where I will be able to see number of slaves, number of nodes, which has been configured with Jenkins. And I don't have any slaves. I have only one master node. So that is what it is showing here. So let me click on this and click on configure. This is where you will be able to see the number of executors. Here you can see that the number of executors are 2. So then the value that it is showing in Prometheus is exactly 2. So that means it is correct. So now what I will do is, so I will going to take this particular query and I will going to put it into Grafana. So let me put it like this. And now when I do that, you can see that a graph has been shown here. And I can also change here. You can see that as soon as I provide that particular query, so it says that executor count and it is showing the actual query. But let's assume I don't want to show that in the graph. I want to show very simple. I want to show it like executor count as in screenshot. You can see that executor count. So I want to show it like this. So if I want to do so, so then I can go and I can, here I can select custom under the legend. And then I can provide my own custom value. So I will say that executor count. When I do that, now you can see that that particular graph, whatever it has been displayed here has been changed. So likewise, I need to get the queue size and node count as well. So let's do that. The next query is the node count that I want to get. So let me go to Prometheus again. And I will say that node underscore count value. So this is the query that I'm interested in. So when I give that query and then execute, you can see that it shows only the node count value, which is 1. In my case, it is only 1 node because I don't have any slave nodes which has been configured. So that's the reason it is showing only 1. And that is the correct value as well. So let me take this particular query now, and then I will gonna put it into the graph. And now you can see that node count, even the node count which came in and which is exactly 1, and executor count, which is 2. Let me change the name of it. I will going to change it as node underscore count. And the next thing is the queue size. So let me click on query again. To get the queue size, so let me go to Prometheus and let me execute queue underscore size value. So this is what I want to get it. And you can see that 0, because in my Jenkins, if I go and if I check, there is no jobs which are there in the queue. So that's why it is 0. So it is correct value. So let me take this value and then put it over Grafana dashboard. And now when I do that, you can see the third graph also, which is came and which is 0. So that is correct in my case. And let me change the name of it. I will change it as queue size. And once that is done, I can apply the changes. And once I applied, you can see that all the graphs that I'm able to show. And the next thing is, so let me show you one more thing. So which is, let's increase the queue size. Now what I will do is, I will go to the Jenkins and let me modify some job to increase the queue size. So what I will do is, I will go to user API and then here under the user API, I will configure the job in such a way that it will be waiting for the node. So for that, what I will do is, rather than giving agent any, I will give it as, maybe I will give it as label. And then I will give the label as like, let's say label test. So now what it does is, it'll gonna search for the agent with this particular label. Obviously, with this label, I don't have any agent. So that's the reason it will be there in the build queue unless I abort manually. So let me click on save. And now let me click on build now. You can see that job has been started, but it is waiting for the node. So it will be there in the same state actually. So now let me trigger one more time. And now when I click on the dashboard, you can see that there are 2 jobs which is there in the queue. And now let's check whether the dashboard shows the same data or not. So before refreshing, let me save this particular dashboard. I will gonna give the name of the dashboard as Jenkins dashboard, Jenkins Monitoring. And then let me save it. And now once I refresh, let me change this time frame also, because if you remember, I mentioned this particular node count and executor count and queue size, this panel should be updated depending on the time frame as well. Now you can see that when I change it to 30 minutes, it is changed. And also let me change it for 5 minutes. Let's see what will be the data. You can see that now queue size has been increased to 2. It was 0 before and now it is 2. And if I want to see only queue size graph, so then I can click on this. So I will be able to see only queue size graph in this particular panel. And if I want get back all that node count and executor count, again, I need to click on this queue size. All the graphs will be shown now. And one more thing I forgot, so that I need to update the panel title. So let me go and first change that particular panel title. So I will gonna give it as executor count, node count, and queue size. So once this is done, let me apply and let me save it again. And both the panels are now ready. So let's do one thing. So as I mentioned, let's verify the down status of the Jenkins as well. So let me do one thing. So let me restart this particular Jenkins. Before that, let me abort this particular jobs actually. So whatever I ran, right? So which is there in the queue. So let me abort those two things. Now the build queue is 0. So now once the restart is done, so I should be able to see the queue size to 0. So this graph should be again back to 0. So that is what I want to see. Now let's refresh. It should show now itself. You can see that now it was 2. The size of the queue was 2 and now it has been 0 because I aborted those particular jobs. And now let's verify this Jenkins health also. I'll make sure that Jenkins is down and then we will see how it will be displayed in the dashboard. So to make the Jenkins down, so what I will do is I will gonna do a restart. And when I do a restart, so we know that the container will go down. So let me do Docker. Yes, you can see that Jenkins container is down now, PS minus A. So Jenkins container is in a down state and which is exited 3 seconds ago. So now let me go back to the dashboard and let's see what it shows. Let me refresh the dashboard. You can see that now it shows Jenkins is down, message is down, and also background color is set to red. So this is what we wanted. It is working exactly same how we wanted it actually. So now, so what I will do is I will go back to the machine and I will start the Jenkins again. Docker start and the container ID. So when I give this, again, Jenkins will be back. So I will be able to see the status of Jenkins in my Grafana dashboard, which is as up. It will gonna take some time because Jenkins has to come up and also then Prometheus has to get the information from the Jenkins, right? It will gonna take maybe 15 to 20 seconds. Let's go to targets. Now you can see that still it is in down state because might be Jenkins is still loading. So let's check whether this container is up and running now or not. Yes, 23 seconds ago, it was started. Now maybe within a couple of seconds, so the data should come here. Still it is down. So let's wait for it. Now you can see that it is up and running. So it took around 30 seconds to bring up Jenkins. Now, hopefully here also we will be able to read the data. You can see that now Jenkins health is up and running. Let's go to the screenshot. Here, the next panel is overall panel. So which shows the job statistics. But before that, we need to create two dropdowns, which is job dropdown. The other one is we need to create folder dropdown. So then only we need to create this particular panels because these particular panels should be reactive to the job folder dropdowns. And also it should be reactive to the time frame as well. But yeah, before creating this particular panel, we need to create those dropdowns. To create the dropdowns in Grafana, so we need to go for the settings, dashboard settings. Under dashboard settings, we have something called as variables. So this is where if you want to create a dropdown, so then we need to add a variable. So now let me click on add variable. So here in this page, I need to provide the information about how the dropdown should look like and where it should get the data from. All that information I need to provide it. So let me name this dropdown or a variable name as folder because folder is the first dropdown that I want to show. And then the name, display name, I can give it as folder. So this is how it will be shown in the dashboard. But variable name, whenever I want to call, I need to call it with this particular name. So that I want to provide it. And also if you want to give a description, you can go ahead and you can give it. So in my case, I will ignore it. And the next thing is data source, where this data should coming from. So in my case, the data should come from InfluxDB. So that's the reason I will select the data source as InfluxDB. And queries, I have already noted down all the influx queries, so which is there in the Prometheus repository. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to provide the link of this particular repository in the video's description. So I have one file which is influxdbquery.md. So this is where I have all the queries which has been already noted. So to get only the folder names, so this is the query that I need to execute. Let me create the variables, and then after that, I will going to explain this particular query in a brief. So let me take this query and let me go back to the dashboard that I'm creating. And dashboard is here itself. And so let me give the query here. And also you can see that as soon as I give the query, it shows the values that it will show in the dropdown, which is call booking admin and call booking user. If you remember, whatever the dashboard that I've shown previously, where it had all options also. So if you want all options, so then we need to use this include all option. So if I don't enable this, then all option won't be there at all. So now you can see that all call booking admin, call booking user are the options that it will going to show in the dropdown is what it says. And let me click on update. And we need to add one more dropdown. So which is job dropdown. So let me add that also. But before that, let's see whether this particular dropdown has been added to dashboard or not. You can see that dropdown has been added to the dashboard. So now you can see that all call booking admin, call booking user, all these options are shown here. So now let's add one more variable. To do that, again, I will go back to this settings button and your variables and add a new variable. And when I click on add a new variable, again, this window will come into picture. And now here I will gonna provide the information about job dropdown. So I will gonna give it as job, and I can give a description, but right now I don't want to give it. So which is InfluxDB data source. And again, let me copy the query. And here, this is a query that it gets me all the job names. So let me provide it here. And then, so include all options. You can see that preview it is showing. So it gives me all the jobs names, admin API, admin UI, user API, user UI. So let me click on update. And now two dropdowns has been shown. So let me go back and let's click on save here, because I've made some changes to my dashboard, right? So whenever you do some changes to the dashboard, it does make sense to save it. So now let me refresh it. So by default, both folder and job should be selected to all. So maybe it might be cached. So that's the reason it was selected to something else. But you can see that both dropdowns have all option. And if I change the call booking admin, so according to this dropdown will be updated. Now you can see that when I change it to call booking user, only the job names which are there in user folder, so will be shown user API and user UI. If I change it back to all, so then all the jobs will be displayed here. So it is working as expected. And also one more thing that we need to remember. So this data, we are getting it from InfluxDB. So now let's go to the InfluxDB and let's see whether whatever the data or whatever the query that I have executed, that table is there or not. So let me go back to the machine. And so let's connect to the InfluxDB. So first, let me do Docker PS and Docker exec-it. And then the container ID of the InfluxDB is this. And bash is what the shell I'm going to log in with. And now the next instruction that I want to execute is influx. And once I am inside the database, then only I will be able to execute table related commands. So for that reason, I need to point to my database. So in my case, database that I'm using is Jenkins. So I want to go inside that Jenkins database. For that, I need to execute use Jenkins. And once I do that, so you can see that I'm already inside Jenkins database. And now let's see the list of tables. To do that, so I can use show measurements. When I do that, you can see that it shows me the list of tables that has been created by Jenkins. And now we are interested in the table job, because if you see the queries that I've taken, so which is getting the data from job table. So let me do select star from table job. And once I do that, so I will be able to see a lot of data. So let me minimize or like reduce the screen size so that you will be able to see everything in a single uh, window. So let me execute it again. Here you can see that there are a couple of columns which are there: job name, owner, repo, past, result, many things are there. So now here I'm interested in actually only the folder names for the first dropdown, right? The folder names are there under this owner column. And also before this, you need to know one thing. So in InfluxDB, there can be two types of columns. One is column of type field. The other one is column of type tag. So the only difference between two different types of columns are when we create column of type tag, right? So where we can create indexes, and indexes help us in search queries. The search queries will be faster. So that's the reason if any column which we will use it for more searching operation, then it does make sense to create that column name as tag. So in my case, I have a couple of columns are as a tag. So let me show you what are all the columns which are of type tag. So to see that, so then we need to execute show tag keys from job table. When I do that, it will gonna show me what are all the columns which are of type tag. You can see that owner, repo, and result. These three columns are of type tag. And that is what here also in this query, what I'm trying to do is show tag values. Okay, let me copy this particular query and then let me explain it here. Show tag values from the table job. And I'm also trying to say that because I have three columns of type tag, right? So that's why I'm trying to say that whichever the a tag, a key as a owner value, so take that particular column. So in a simple terms, if I want to say, select this particular column and get me the only unique fields under this particular column. So that is what this query is trying to do. So when I execute that, you can see that it will only get me call booking admin and call booking user. So that is what the query is trying to do. And the next query is also very similar. Here, one more extra condition that I've added. So or else it is very similar. You can see that what I'm trying to say here is, so select the column repo. Here you can see that I'm selecting the column repo. Under the column repo, provide me the unique values, but it should also satisfy with one condition, which is whatever the value that I'm going to select in the folder dropdown, right? So that value it will going to replace, and Grafana will going to replace all these values and it will going to render it actually. So here I have one condition where get me the job names where the folder is with this name. Because as soon as I change in the Grafana dashboard to some value, so then I want to take that value and then I need to execute the job related query, right? So that's the reason I have that particular condition. When user changes this particular one, take that particular condition and apply it on the query. So that is what I'm trying to do on job query. So now both the drop downs are there, and briefly I've explained how I've got this particular one. And now let's create overall panel. To create this overall panel, so let me click on this add panel and let me rearrange this particular window. So as per the screen, maybe I'll reduce the size of these particular panels and I will going to increase the size of this particular panel. And now once this is done, so the next thing I need to do is click on add new panel. Here, first and foremost thing is I need to choose what type of a panel it is. Let me go to the screenshot where it shows all the panels. So this is of type pie chart. Okay, you can see that it is showing in a circle. So that's the reason I need to go for the pie chart. So let me go to the dashboard and select type of a panel to the pie chart. So to do that, I will gonna expand this and select the pie chart. And here, once I select the pie chart, you can see that the options has been changed, and also data source. Here I need to choose as InfluxDB, no more Prometheus, because all this pipeline data I'm getting it from InfluxDB. So that's the reason I'm selecting data source as InfluxDB. And for this panel, I need 4 queries. One is which gets me the successful build count, and the second one is a failure build count, and the third query which will get me the unstable build count, and also the fourth one will be which will get me the aborted build count. So that is what I needed, 4 queries that I require. And as I mentioned earlier, I have already queries which are ready. So let me take this and I will try to briefly explain about this particular query. So let me put it over Visual Studio Code. Here you can see that this is a query. And now you can see that in the SQL, if you know the basics of SQL, so we will say these as clauses, like select is one clause, from is one clause, where is one clause. And I'm reading the data from the table, which is called as Jenkins data. And under Jenkins data, so I have a lot of rows and a lot of data might be there, a lot of columns might be there. Let me show you that. So let me clear the screen and select star from the table Jenkins data. Once I do that, you can see that a lot of information which is showing me, and also which has a lot of rows and a lot of columns as well. Even if I reduce the screen size, you won't be able to see all the column names in one screen. So you can see that it has a lot of columns. So here in the SQL queries or influx queries, the first clause it will gonna execute is from. It will gonna select the data which is there in this particular table, and after that, where clause will be executed. In the where clause, I have few conditions. So first and foremost and very important condition is this particular one. So here, what I'm trying to say is I need to get the count of builds which has been successfully executed. So that's the reason in my Jenkins underscore data, there is one column which is build underscore result, where I will gonna get the status of the pipeline, whether the pipeline executed successfully or whether the pipeline executed to the failure, aborted, unstable, all those values I'll get it under this particular column. So that is where I'm filtering it out. Within overall data of the Jenkins data table, so I am just filtering out whichever the row which has build result is equals to success or build result is equals to completed success, then I want only those rows is what I'm trying to say by using this particular condition. And the next condition is this panel or a query should be reactive to my folder dropdown and the job dropdown, right? So that's that condition also I'm adding it here. So in my Jenkins data table, so there will be one column with the name project name where I will have what is the job name, and project path is where I will gonna have the folder name. So that is where I'm reading the dollar folder. You can see that if I want to read the variables or a drop-down values in any queries, so then this is how I will try to do. Dollar job, it gets me whatever user will gonna select in the drop-down job. And if I want to get the folder name which user selects in the drop-down, so then I need to use dollar folder. And here, 3 conditions I have. One is job name, folder name, and very important thing is the build status or the build result should be success. And also, last but not the least, this is one more condition. So if I want to select only data for a certain time frame, so then I want to able to execute this query as well, right? So that's the reason you can see that I've added one more condition here, which is time filter. So in the dashboard, we will have this time filter, right? If you want to get the value of this particular dropdown, so then I need to use dollar time filter. So if I do so, so then it will get me the value of that time frame, and then it will gonna help me to execute the query. And once that is done, so the last class it will gonna execute in this query is select. I will gonna select only build number column. So this filters out number of rows that I require. Depending on the conditions, it will gonna filter out the data in a rows wise. And here in the select, so I will gonna choose only the columns that I want to display. Okay, so here I'm selecting build underscore number as a column, and then I'm doing a count function on that because I need the number of the builds. So that's the reason I'm doing a count on that particular column selection. So hope you understood this particular query. And I know if you don't know the basics of SQL, it will be really difficult to understand. And also, if I explain in detail the select query and whatever the query that I'm trying to execute, it will gonna take much time and you'll get confused also. So that's the reason I'm trying to explain it in a brief way. Now let me select this particular query and let me provide it in Grafana dashboard. Now, when I do that, you can see that no data it is shown because since last 5 minutes, I don't have any data. So let me select it as maybe 30 minutes. Once I do that, even for 30 minutes, I don't have any data. So let me change it to 1 hour. So now you can see that I have a little bit of data. So 9 successful builds has happened and it is showing on the screen. And let me change a few more options here. First and foremost, panel title. I will change it as overall. And then description also I can give it, but that's fine. And now I've got the successful builds. Now I need to get count of failure builds, unstable builds, and aborted builds also. It'll be the same query. It's just that the build results will gonna change. So let me click on this add query. And here, let me click on this edit again. And now I need to give the query which gets me the failure builds. Let me go to the GitHub page. Here, I will gonna select the failed build count. This is the query. And now you can see that it is very similar. It's just that build results. Now it should be failure in this particular query. Okay. And let me provide the alias names as well. You can see that here it is showing Jenkins data dot count. So it is really, I'm not sure from which query I'm getting this particular data. Let me give the alias name. I will give it as success. Here I will gonna give the success as the alias name. And then for this query, alias name will be failure. And then likewise, I need 2 more queries, which gets me aborted and unstable. So let me go back to that particular page where you can see that this is for getting aborted build count. Here you can see that build result is aborted. And let me take this aborted and provide it as alias name. And then, so once this is done, so let me also give the query for unstable builds. So let me take the unstable query and let me provide it here. And let me give the alias name for this as unstable. And now you can see that all the queries has been given and now it is showing the data also. But if I compare it with previously created dashboard, now this is a screenshot, right? I need this particular table, which is not there. And also the colors, if you see here, so in my case, there are few builds which are successful. So which shows correct, which is in the green, but aborted, it is showing in yellow color. So this shouldn't be the case. So I need to change this particular behavior. And let's do one thing. Let's log into the Jenkins again and let's generate from few error builds as well so that I can show in the graph. So I've logged in and let me go to the call booking admin folder. Under this, I will gonna go to admin UI and let me do one thing. I will gonna configure the job in such a way that it will gonna go to the failure. So let me just go and give some random command so that it will gonna fail the job. And now let me do the build. So if the build goes and it goes to the failure. So let me just build it for a few more times. Now you can see that 2 failure builds are there. Let me go to the Grafana dashboard. And now let me refresh this. Now you can see that failure is showing in yellow and aborted is showing in blue. So this is not at all expected because failure should be shown in red and aborted should be shown in some kind of light dark color. So I will gonna choose the color likewise and I will change this particular graph. So now let's also, we have failed, aborted and successful builds. Let me also create some unstable builds also. To do that, so let me use the global variables which are there in the Jenkins. So let me go to this particular documentation and global variable reference. And I can set my build results that I can handle it through the job itself. So this is the variable that I need to use. So let me go to Jenkins job again, click on configure, and then I will gonna remove this wrongly provided command. And also I need to use the script block. If I don't use the script block, and then it won't be able to read this current build value. Okay. So current build dot result. So under this current build, if you go for Jenkins documentation, right? So under this current build, there is a property which is called as a result. So this is used for setting up my build status actually. Okay, so that's why I will gonna take this result and I will gonna put it current build dot result is equals to, in a single quotes, I will give the value for this as unstable. So that now when I run the pipeline, right, when it comes to this particular line, so it sets my build as unstable. So let me do that. So let me refresh. So now you can see that build status is unstable. Let me click on again, build now once more. So two unstable builds I have. So now let me go back to the Grafana dashboard and let's refresh. You can see that now successful, failure, aborted, and also unstable builds are there. It is getting the data, but the colors that it is showing is wrong. So I want to change that particular one. And now, and also one more thing is I need a short table where it shows the percentage and the number. I can show you in the screenshot, this particular table I'm talking about. I need that also. First, let's enable that particular table. To enable that particular table, I need to go for this legend option. And here I need to click on legend mode as table so that this particular, whatever it shows in the form of list, right? Now it has been converted to table. And where I want to show this particular table, bottom left or top right. So I want it on the top right. So that's the reason I need to select right. And also what are all the values that I want to show you. So I want to show the percentage and I want to show the values as well. So now you can see that the same table which I had shown in the screenshot is visible here. But the main problem here is the colors. I want to adjust the colors. If it is failure, it should be in the red color, and unstable builds, it should be in the yellow color. And also aborted, it should be in the different color. Now, if I want to do so, so then I need to do override of the default behaviors. So that's where I need to use here override options. Let me click on override option here. And once I click on the override option, I will be able to get this add field override. So let me click on add field override. So now first I want to create the override for any one of the field. So now I have 4 fields here, right? Success, failure, aborted, and unstable. So these are the things we will call it as a fields in the panel pie chart. So first let me select for the success field. I want to add a override property. I want to change the default behavior of this particular field. So that is what I'm trying to do. And let me add an override property for this particular field. So if I want to do so, so then I will gonna click add override property. Here I want to change the color. For the success, I want to always show it in this green color. So that's why I will gonna choose green. So now you can see that whenever it gets me the successful, whatever this query gets me, right? So that particular query output will be shown in the green color in the pie chart. So the next override, so that I want to do it for failure. So let me click on add override and fields with the name. Whenever I have a failure, so let me choose the field name as failure. And then I'm gonna add override property, which is color scheme again. So let me click on color scheme and I will change the single color. So I don't need this classic palette. I will change it for single color. And now whenever it is a failure, so then I want to show it in red color. So that's the reason I will go with this red. And then third override. So for unstable, so let me select choose field with a name and I will choose unstable. Add override property, color scheme. It should be in the yellow color. Unstable should be there in the yellow color. So now even that is properly set. And the last but not the least, for aborted, I will gonna again click on add override property, color scheme, and then I will gonna go with a single color and let the aborted will be there in this particular color itself. If you go and if you check the aborted builds, I did few aborted builds also, right? So let me go and check that in the user. It is very similar. You can see that the same color which is there in the Grafana dashboard. I want to keep it this a light dark color. So wherein like I'm gonna go with this color itself. Now let me click on apply. You can see that now according to the drop down change. Let me change it to the booking user. You can see that according to that particular drop down, it is showing the data. So if I select user API, which has 2 successful builds and 2 aborted, so that is what it is showing. And if I change it to user UI, so it doesn't have any aborted builds. It has only 2 success, so that it is showing. And now let me choose the other folder, which is called booking admin. And if you look at here, so let me select admin API. You can see that only 2 successful builds are there for this particular job. And then now let me select admin UI. You can see that for this 3 successful builds, 2 failure builds and 2 unstable builds are there. Now this overall panel is also done, so which is working as expected. And few more modifications if you want to do, you can also do that. Let me click on edit. And let's say I don't want the complete circle. It is dominating all other panels. I want to do a little more change. If you want, rather than showing the complete circle, right? If I want to show only donut kind of a structure, so then I can choose that particular one. So maybe I'll go with the donut because it won't highlight only this particular panel, because other panels are also very, very important. I don't want to highlight only one panel. So that's the reason I'm going to choose this donut. And also I can choose the labels also. Like if I want to show the percentage on this, the successful thing and failure and unstable things, right? You can see that I can choose that as well. And you can choose name. If you want to show the name also, you can do that as well. So let me apply these changes and let me click on save now. Now you can see that 3 panels are done and it is working as expected. Now, if I change the time frame to 5 minutes, you can see that no data which is there in the last 5 minutes. So that's the reason it is not able to show anything. And let me change it to 1 hour. And you can see that a lot of data which is there and it is shown on my panels as well. Now, the next panel, which is number of pipelines ran. So let me create. And again, this panel receives the data from InfluxDB. All the job details, we will get it from InfluxDB itself. Let me add a panel and let's adjust that particular one. And I will gonna adjust it like this. And let me click on add new panel. And here I want to go with the stat type of a panel. And the data, I will get it from InfluxDB. So I will gonna choose InfluxDB. And the query, I will gonna copy it from my GitHub repository. So if I want to get a pipeline run, so this is the query that I need to execute. This is also a very similar query. So only little more modifications that I would have done in my where condition and the select statement. You can see that now I'm counting the project name column. And also the condition now, I would have removed this build result condition because now I want the count of pipelines which has been executed since given time frame, and also depending on the user selection in the job and folder dropdown, I want to execute the query, right? So that's the reason I have only 2 conditions. One is job condition, so which I will be selecting in the dropdown and the folder selection. And the third one is time frame. And here I'm doing the count on the project name because I need only the project are like the pipelines which has ran in a given time frame, right? So that's the reason I'm doing a count on the project name. So here all the queries will be very, very similar. It's just that few where conditions and the select queries might change. And you can see that still I'm getting the data from the table Jenkins underscore data. So let me go and take this value or a query to Influx from InfluxDB to here. And you can see that with this combination of dropdowns, so I'm just getting one as output. Let me choose all and all. Here you can see that since 1 hour, only one job has executed, but let me change it to maybe 3 hours. You can see that since 3 hours, 4 pipelines has been executed. So this is good. And if I want to change the color value, so then I can go and use this threshold value because I'm not sure about what this value will be, right? So that's where I can use this threshold, and where I can say that, let's assume if the value is anything more than 2, I want to show it in yellow color. So then I can use this threshold value, and then I can show it in this way. So let's say, for example, if it crosses 10, so then it should show in red color. So in that case, I can give 10 as threshold. So whenever it crosses threshold, so then it will gonna show in that particular color. So now let's change back the admin, and now I will change it to this admin API. So now you can see that which is less than 2. So that's the reason it will gonna always show in the base color. So that's fine. So now let me apply it. And also I need to change the panel title. That is very important, or else it will be confusing. So number of builds ran, number of pipelines ran, sorry. Okay, so now let me save this. And even this particular panel has been kind of created. The next one in the screenshot, which is the total number of builds. This is number of pipelines ran, and this is total number of builds which has been executed for all the pipelines, depending on the selections of these dropdowns. So for that, again, I will going to create add new panel, and I can, or else one more option, I can use it. So which is there here. So number of pipelines ran is there, right? I can click on this, and then I can go for a more option and click on duplicate. When I do that, it will gonna create one more panel, which is very similar to this. Okay. Now let me reduce the size of it, which can be here. And now let me click on edit here. So let's change the query here. So let me go back to the documentation, and this gets me the total number of builds. Here you can see that I'm doing a count on build number. The condition, table, everything is same. It's just that select query, I'm just changing it here. And once I do that, you can see that the number of pipelines ran is shown. Uh, it's not number of pipelines ran. I need to change the title option. So builds executed. And description also I can give it, and I will remove this value. And now let's say all, I will going to select all. So you can see that since 3 hours, there were like 15 builds that has been happened. Maybe I will just increase this value to 80. Okay, so that the value is not shown in red, because if it is red, so then it's something which shows as a danger sign. So 15 builds are not a danger. So that's the reason I don't want to show it in red color. So let's generate meanwhile a few builds, because the number is less. Maybe I will gonna build few more times the jobs, so that the data will get updated. And now once these builds are done, so it should show, okay, again, I need to do abort, because if you remember, I gave the node in such a way that this job will never go through. Let me go to the other user UI, build now. When I do that, it will gonna run multiple times. And now this value should be increased to 19, right? So now let's refresh the dashboard. You can see that now the value has been increased to 19. Okay. And now when I change the time frame also, since last 5 minutes, if you remember, I did only few builds few seconds back. So that's why it shows total number of builds is 4. And you can see that 2 as run, 2 pipelines as run. And within that, 2 were successful and 2 were aborted. And Jenkins health is up, and you can see the queue size and node count, and also executor count, which is almost the same things. And now let me save the things, because I've just created a lot of panels. So that's the reason. And the next panel will be average build time. So let me click on, again, add new panel. So I will adjust it here. And then I will gonna reduce the size of this particular panel. And I will gonna put it same as this particular one. And then click on add a new panel. Here it should be of type same stat itself. And then only the query will gonna change, and data source will be InfluxDB. And let me click on this edit. And so the next query, I will gonna copy it from here. You can see that here I'm doing a average and the build time. That's it. Build time is a select query, and then I'm doing 1,000 because it will gonna store the values in microseconds. So might be that's the reason I'm just dividing it by 1,000. But other than that, all the where condition from everything will be the same. It's just that select statement is changing. Now, once that is done, you can see that it is showing some query also. So let me change the panel title, which I will make it as average build time. And then I will remove that particular graph. So it's shown here. So to remove that particular graph, styles. So here I will graph mode as none. And here it is shown an integer value. So average build time. I'm not sure whether it is showing in seconds, hours. I'm not sure, right? So that's where I want to change this to seconds. So now it is showing the value, which is in microseconds or seconds. I'm not sure. But by looking at this value, I'm not exactly sure how do I basically get the time. So that's where I need to use standard options here and unit. On what unit this particular value should be shown. So there are a couple of options. I need basically clock option. Clock, it should show in seconds. When I do that, you can see that the pipelines has took 770 microseconds actually. Okay, it's an average. It is not one pipeline's build time, as I've selected different things, right? So the folder and job. So all the jobs average time it is showing here. So if I choose, so let's assume only call booking user folder. So according to that, this particular query will gonna change. Let me change it to maybe user API. Okay, user UI. I'm not sure it is not updating here, but let's apply it and now let's see. So let me save this and let's update it. This particular value, let's see why it is not getting updated. Alias, now Jenkins data, everything is correct. Job, folder name, and time frame, everything looks fine for me. Panel option, I'm showing it in that one. Threshold, I don't want to show any threshold. So it is fine, looking good to me. So maybe I will gonna change the time frame. So let me save and change it to 1 hour. So it still shows the same thing. Maybe let's execute few more builds. So which takes maybe 1 minute or something. So let's go to user UI and let's configure this particular job. And then, so let me execute sh commands, sh sleep 60 means this job will be slept for 1 minute and then it will be executed to the successful. So just to increase the average build time. So for that reason only I'm trying to do. So until this get executes, right, I'm gonna pause the video. Now you can see that jobs executed successfully. So now when I change the drop downs to call booking user and user UI, right? So the average build time should have definitely get increased. So let me go to monitoring and so now let me go back to all first. And now you can see that it shows 1 minute 8 seconds and 474 microseconds is what it is trying to show. And now, so let me change it to call booking user and then user UI is the job that I've taken, right? You can see that 1 minute 8 seconds and 474 microseconds has been taken. So that is what it has been shown actually. Okay, and so the next panel, which shows the latest build status. So whether it is aborted, successful, all those things it will gonna show. So let's create that. So let me click on again, add new panel and let's rearrange this particular panel according to the size of the screen. So let me do that. Let me remove this. Let me do the screen reduction. And then I will arrange it according to the size of this particular screen. And once this is done, I will just click on add new panel. And once I do that, so here you can see that, so I have a few drop downs which has been chosen. Maybe I will set it to all. Okay. And the next thing is, again, for this also, I need a stat panel type, and the data source will be InfluxDB. And the query, I will going to copy it from Prometheus repository. And you can see that this is the query. So let me take this and I will going to provide it here. And once this is done, so you can see that select build result. And from here, it is same. It's just that I'm not executing any count operation here. So build result is what I'm reading. And also I've added one more condition, which is limit one. Means only get the latest record is what I'm trying to say. I've changed the query a little bit, order by time. So order my all the data in one specific format, which is in descending order, depending on the time. So order it in a descending order, and then only take the latest row is what I'm trying to say. So now you can see that it is so basically displaying, and now I need to do few more changes here. So first thing is standard option. So here I don't need to do anything here, but here stat style. So let me go one by one. One is panel title. You need to change latest build status. And once that is done, so value options, let me go to the value options. So this is also looking fine for me. Last, and it's not a numeric field. So maybe I will just say it as all fields, no, only Jenkins result. So this is what I want to choose here. And then once that is done, so value options, because here it was selected numeric fields, but my query doesn't provide me numeric value, right? So that's the reason it was showing the no data. So that's why I need to select your Jenkins build result. Maybe I can give a alias also. I can say that result or status, build status, build status. So according to that, now let me apply it. So now you can see, let me go edit as I gave the alias, right? Maybe again, I need to select this build result. Yeah, build status actually, not the build result, build status I need to choose. And now you can see that it is showing. And also here, I don't want the text color as green. I want the background color as green if the build is successful. So if I want to do so, then I need to go for styles. Here, I need to choose the color mode as background. Okay, so that when I choose that, you can see that background color has been shown in green. So let me save it. And now let's do a few more builds. So let's save it first. Okay, I will gonna go to this Jenkins, and let me now do some failure builds or unstable builds. Let's go to user, or maybe I will go to admin folder, and let me run this particular job. So when I do that, you can see that it will be unstable build. So let's see whether according to that, the dashboard will be updated or not. So let me do refresh on this. You can see that unstable it is showing, but the background color, it is still green. So this is wrong, right? I need to change depending on whatever the status that I get, right? I need to change the background color also. How do we do that? So again, I need to do some changes in this particular panel. So those changes are value mapping. So this is value mapping as in if I get the input as unstable, so then what I should display it and what color the background should be. I need to define it under value mapping. Okay, so that's where I'm going to go for value mapping, add value mapping. If the value is unstable, so let me take the values from here. I will going to copy it here, copy it from here. If the value is unstable, then the text to display, let it be unstable. Maybe in the lower case, I want to show unstable, unstable, and then set color as yellow, update. And also if it is aborted, if the value, incoming value is aborted, so then I want to show some other uh, color. So maybe I will give it as aborted, aborted, and maybe the text will also be the same. And color that I want to show is maybe a little darkish color, or like even this color will be fine for me. And if it is success value, if it is success, it should be showing success itself, and the color should be green. And then if the value is failure, and then it should be failure. Okay, so, and let me set it as red. Now let me update, and you can see that now it is unstable. So that's the reason it is showing in yellow color. Okay, so now let me run one more job which fails this particular job. Maybe I will go to admin API and I will update this job in such a way that this particular job will gonna fail. I will gonna give some wrong command and let me save it. Once I do that and click on build now, it will be failure. So now let's go to dashboard and let's check it. You can see that failure, and also it is showing in the red color, and the message is also, you can see that it is showing in the failure in the lowercase as well. Okay. And background is set to red color. Next panel that we want to create is a table, so which is build details. So let me go to the screenshot and show you. So this is a table that I'm talking about, which has 6 columns. The first column is started time, when the pipeline has started, and the next column is pipeline name, and it is a link. When a user clicks on the link, so it will be redirected to Jenkins build dashboard. And then build number, who is the causer, who started the pipeline. So that particular data is captured here, and also build time, complete time is being taken by that particular pipeline to execute it. And what is the status? What is the result of that particular pipeline? Whether it is success, unstable, or aborted, what is the status of it? All that information is also captured in this particular table. So now let's go ahead and create it in our dashboard. So for that, what I will do is I'm going to click on add new panel. Once I do that, so I'm going to move this panel to the bottom, and I will expand this particular panel to the full screen. And once I do that, so let me click on add new panel. So here in the add new panel, first panel type, I need to select as table. So let me do that. And then once that is done, data source is InfluxDB, because all the build information is coming from InfluxDB itself. Next thing is the query, which gets me all those columns that I need to provide. So which is there in Prometheus repository, GitHub repository. So let me copy this query. So this is a query which gets me all the build related details. And you can see that the only change in this query is the condition and time filter, everything is same, similar to the previous queries. Only the change is the select statement. Here, rather than selecting one column, I'm selecting multiple columns. So which is build, execute time, project path, build number, build causer, build time, build result. All these columns are, I'm fetching it from the Jenkins data table. Now here you can see that in table, all the values I'm able to get it from the InfluxDB, but the table view is not proper, because now whoever wants to use this table, so now he has to choose this particular parameter, and then only he will be able to view it. So I don't want it in this way. I want all the details in a single table and a single view. So if I want to do so, so then let me click on edit. And then, so I need to click on transform. Here I need to use outer join functionality. So when I use outer join functionality or a feature, so now you can see that the all data, all the columns are viewable in a single panel or single view itself. And I can enable the stable view also. It will gonna treat the above one as column names. And you can see that a little bit of modification has been done when I enable this particular one. But let's disable it for now. So we will gonna see other important overrides or like modifications that we need to do. And also let me give the panel name as build details. And once this is done, I can give a description also, but for now I will ignore it. The next thing is I want to align all the cells data. So in each cell, there is a data, right? I want to align all that data at the center. So that's why I'll go for the table option. Under that table option, the column alignment, I'm giving it as center, so that now each column's cells data will be at the center. It won't be indented to left or right. It will be all the columns data will be now aligned to the center. So this is fine. So now a few more changes that I want to do is I want to hide this particular column, because this is the time where a record has been inserted to the InfluxDB. So this information, it won't be useful for me. So I need information about the pipeline start time, build time. So that kind of time will gonna help me. So this time is little confusing. So that's the reason I want to remove this particular time from this table. If I want to do so, so then I need to use overrides. So here I need to create an override property for this particular column. If I want to do so, so then I need to choose this fields with name and then choose a field with name, time, and then I need to add a override property. I'm adding a property, so which will kind of like override default behavior. So I will do hide in table. When I enable this hide in table, this column will be fetched from this query, but it won't be displayed in the dashboard. So that is what it will gonna happen. And then once this is done, I'm going to create the next override, which is for project path. Not for the project path. The next one is the build execute time. So let me select that build execute time. So once I'll select build execute time. So few properties that I want to add are like first is column name. I want to change this column name. So let me show you in the screenshot what should be the column name. The column name should be started time. I need to have started time. So let me go to the dashboard and I will add display name is the property that I need to add. So I will say started time. So now when I add this particular string, you can see that the column name has been changed to started time. And this value, it really, I'm not able to understand at what time it has been triggered. So it is a big integer number. So the way it is displaying is wrong. So that's why we need to change the unit. So for that, what I need to do is standard option and unit is what I need to choose. And here, so I need to choose date time and I will gonna choose this date time ISO. When I choose this particular one, you can see that now it is showing year, month, day, and also the time that it has been triggered. That particular value, it has been shown here. And also, you can see that now it does make sense because before it was a long integer number. By that, I couldn't able to understand when exactly it has been triggered. So now it does make sense that it has been triggered on a specific time. So the next override, so that we will create it as for the project path. So let me click on add override. So now this column is completely done because the column name has been changed and the values that has been shown here does make sense. And the next override that I want to add it as for this column, the second column, which is project path. So let me create a override property. First display name, column name. I want to change it to pipeline name or pipeline path. I would say pipeline path. And once this is done, you can see that the column name has been changed. So let me expand this particular column a little bit like this. And now once this is done, so the next property that I want to provide it for this one is add property again, add property. So once I do this, so now what I want to do is, as you can see on the screenshot, this should be a link. When I click on that particular link, it should be redirected to Jenkins build window. So if I want to do so, so then I need to use again a override property. So which is panel link or like, let me search link, data link. Sorry, not panel link. It is a data link that I need to enable. And here, so let me click on data link and then let me give the title as pipeline link. So once that is done, so the now URL. So when I click on any row in the table of this particular column, so what link it has to be redirected, that particular URL I need to provide it. So for that, what I will do is I want it to be redirected to Jenkins, right? So let me take the Jenkins URL first. So Jenkins URL is this particular one. So let me take this value, which is till this 8080. So let me provide it here. So this is fine. Now, so I have a couple of data, right? So each cell, like let's assume, let me save this particular one. So when I take this particular cell, so now when I click on this, it should be redirected to call booking admin and admin job. And also in the admin API job, so I need to redirect it to build to. If I want to construct that particular URL, so then I can make use of the special expressions here. So I can type in just dollar. When I say dollar, you can see that there are a couple of field values that I can access in this URL. So first one is project path, because it will have the path of my job. So that's the reason I'm taking this. And once this is done, so I need to provide again slash, and now the build number of respective row will be there, right? The build number I want to take. Again, just let me type dollar, and now you can see that build causer, build time is there, but I'm interested in build number. So now let me click on save. Now you can see that now it is a link. So let me apply this particular one, and let me click on this job. So let's see now what will gonna happen. So when I go to this particular link, it says that 404, that means this particular path is not correct. It is redirecting to Jenkins, but whatever the job path that I've given is wrong. So let's compare it. So let me take this particular value and let's compare it. What are the things which are missing? So let's provide those things. So if I take, this is a valid one, and this is, we got it from the Grafana. So one mistake that I can see is after 8080, there should be a string which is called as job. First, let's add that particular one. Let me go ahead and click on edit. And then here, I need to go for data link, and I need to add job here. So job is missing. So that's the reason I will gonna provide it as job slash. So here I want to provide job. I'm not sure why it is not taking there. So let me remove all these things first. Let me give it as job and then slash, now dollar project path, and then slash dollar build number. So now once I give and save it, and then now again we will apply this particular table. Let's again click on this particular path. Let's see what is the problem now. So let me save this particular one. And let me click on in a new tab. So when I do that, still it is throwing that 404 error. Again, let me copy this and let's see what is the problem here. Job is there and call booking admin. Okay, so after call booking admin also, there should be a job. So I'm in my case that is missing, but I need to add a job. But unfortunately, in my case, right? So let me show you here. When I just click on edit, and when I go for this data link, unfortunately, see here I'm adding job here. But the next parameter that I'm reading is project path. This project path as the folder name slash I have the job name. So in between that folder name and the job name is there, right? In between that, I need to add slash job. So here we can do it in a couple of ways. Either in my table, I should have two more columns. One will have only the folder name. The other one will have only the pipeline name. And then in between that, I can add a job. But here I have only one field which has both. But in between that slash, I need to add a job. So I mean to say that in between this particular call booking slash is there, right? I need to add job slash again. So is it possible without again fetching two more columns and then constructing? Is it possible in this particular field itself? It is possible. We can use override property, which is value mapping. So this value mapping already we have used in a couple of other panels as well. So here what I'm trying to do is, so I'm trying to say that whatever the input value that you'll get it, right? So manipulate it and display it in the dashboard is what I'm trying to say. Or if somebody is trying to access that particular value, so manipulate it and provide it is what the value mapping does actually. So now what I will do is I will going to delete this. And now, so wherever that slash is there, right? So I want to replace it with slash job. So for that, we need to use a regular expression. And in my Prometheus repository, already this regular expression is there. So at the bottom, I'm going to take this particular regular expression and then I will going to provide it to you. So here, what I'm trying to say is wherever there is a slash, replace it with slash job is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to say. And let's update it. Now you can see that even in the table, it shows like call booking admin slash job slash admin API. So now, so as we have did a value mapping, right? While in the data link, when we read that particular project path value, right? So now it will be call booking / job / admin API. So now when I just apply this particular one, and when I click on this particular link, so now it will be properly redirected to the Jenkins build page. So here we are playing with data value mapping and also the data link. So these are the two things that we need to know. By using that, we can create a link and we can manipulate the data, and then we can use that particular data in the data link field as well. So that's all I want to do it for this one. So now there is a link. You can always click on that. It will be redirected to Jenkins. Maybe there is one more option that I forgot to enable, which is open in new tab. When I enable this and click on apply, and now when I click on any of the link, it will be opening in a new tab, new browser tab. So let's close all these things. Now pipeline path is working as expected. Maybe I will gonna reduce the column size. The next thing is build number. Let's add a property again, override property. So I'll go to override page and then click on add override and fields with name. And here I will gonna add Jenkins build number. And you can see that I created only 2 overrides, but 2 more overrides has been added. So when I just increase and reduce this column size and when I adjust it in UI, right? So that is where it has created an override. So that I have not added manually by coming into the override page here. So when I change it in UI, it is getting override property is getting updated here actually. You can see that now the project path column is there, right? The column width has been set to 260. I did the change in the UI, right? So that override property is shown here as well. Now the build number, the first override property that I want to add is display name. I want to change the column name to build number, reduce the column size. That's it. So this is the overrides that I want to do it for this particular column. And the next one is started by. So again, for this, I need to add a display name. Let me choose the field with name and build causer. I will say the override property as display name. Add override property, display name, and I will give it as causer. And then let me apply it. Now you can see that all the column names has been updated. And here I'm able to see the time in a proper way. And there is a link is enabled. Build number is shown properly. And now let me adjust this causer also. And the next field that we need to update is this particular one. And let's update that particular one. So let me click on edit. And now what I will do is go to overrides and click new override. So which is override property. And then field name. And now I will gonna choose the field name as build time. And once that is done, so first thing is I need to change the column name. If I want to do so, display name. So let me give the display name as build time. And once that is done, you can see that the column name has been updated. And once it is updated, and you can see that the build time, it is shown in the microseconds are like in the integer value, so that I'm not able to understand. So to view this in a better way, wherein we can add one more override property, which is unit. Standard option, and under that standard option, unit. So this is the option that we need to use. And here I will gonna choose the clock and microseconds. So when I do that, you can see that now it is showing the build time in a proper way or a correct manner. Okay. And now, so let me click on apply. And now you can see that even the build time is shown in a proper way. Next, we need to override this last column. So where I need to set the background of each cell. If it is success, then to green. And as well as the column name, you can see that I need to change. So this is the modification that I want to do for this particular column. So for that, let's click on build details. And then, so let me go to overrides. And then here, I need to click on add field override. So let me click on field with the name and let's choose result, Jenkins data build result as a field. And here override property first is display name. Display name, I need to change it. So display name will be result. And then next one will be, I need to do a value mapping because I need to change the background color, right? So that's the reason I need to use the option which is called as value mapping. So that's why I will gonna use a property which is called as value mapping. And then I will gonna click on add value mapping. And now whenever it is success, so then I will gonna show it in the lowercase success. And then I will gonna show it in a green color. So then we will add it for failure, failure, and likewise I'll gonna add it for unstable and as well as unstable and aborted. Aborted. So now here likewise display text I will add it, failure, and then unstable, aborted, aborted. So I will gonna choose the colors like failure, red color, and then unstable, again, I will gonna go with yellow. For aborted, I'll gonna go with some custom color. So let it be this color itself. That's fine. Update. And now you can see that whatever the data it is showing in the uh, this particular column has been changed. Before it was everything in uppercase, now it is in camel case, right? The only first letter is in uppercase, the other characters are in the lowercase, but the color for the background has been not updated. For this we need to update the table setting. So let me go to all and let me go upside, and here there is a table, right? Table section. So this is where I need to go for cell mode. Here cell mode, and I will gonna go with color background gradient. When I go for this, so it is applying it for all the things. So let's not do that. Why it is applying it for all things? Let's see, let's check. So let's go to any other things. Color scheme, no, not threshold value. I want to go with a single color. So here, let me go with now. So there was one which has been chosen, which was color scheme, which was basically threshold. So that I've changed it to single color. And now here, I will gonna go with color text. It shouldn't be color text. Now it should be color background. So when I go with that, you can see that now failure aborted, it has been shown. And also the color, which is a little bit wrong. Maybe I will gonna go with this transparent. When I do that, now you can see that the result column cells only it is showing in the background. You can see that failure is in red, unstable is in yellow, aborted is in like this color, and also success is in green. So it was the issue with the standard option. Under that standard option, color scheme was the issue. Now I've changed it to single color and set it as transparent. And after that, I updated the cell display mode as color background gradient. Once I do this, now you can see that even this column is updated properly. So now all the panels are now ready. So Jenkins health, so executor stats, node stats, and queue size. And here we have overall panel, which shows the job statistics. So number of pipelines ran, total number of builds, average build time, latest build status, and also table, which provides basically information about each build. And here we can click on the link, which redirects to the Jenkins build page. And so those are the panels that we have created. And now we need to create few more panels, which are related to plugins. For that, what I will do is, I will gonna click on this add panel. So in my screenshot, that particular thing has been not captured. Let me show you that. This is a screenshot. It has been not captured. So that's the reason I didn't show the screenshot. So I had basically three panels. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I showed the dashboard, right? So where I had three panels. So where it will gonna show the pipeline information. Maybe I will gonna add three panels. So first panel. So let me click on add panel here. So now this plugin information, total number of plugins which are installed, I'll get it from Prometheus. So let me go to Prometheus and let me search plugins, plugin. Here you can see that active plugin, inactive plugin with update. So these are the three queries that you require. So let me click on plugin active. So this is the plugin count. It will gonna show me how many plugins that it is in active state. So let me give this, and also I will gonna give this particular panel type as stat panel type. You can see that it is showing 92. Maybe this is because the threshold that I've set is wrong. Maybe I will set it as base as uh, the default color. So and also here I don't need any graphs, right? So that's why stat styles graph mode is I don't need any graph mode. So then let's click on apply. Now you can say these many active plugins are there. So let's change the panel uh, title as well. So active plugins is what I will give name as active plugins. So let me apply, and again, let me duplicate this particular panel. And now again, let me duplicate one more time so that all the three panels will be there. So first I'll edit this and I will change the panel title to inactive plugins, inactive plugins. And for this, the query will gonna change definitely. So let me again go and edit, and let me go to Prometheus, and I will just search for plugins again, plugins, and now inactive plugin. So this is a query which will give me inactive plugins. When I execute it here, you can see that there is 0 inactive plugins. In my case, that is correct. Let me show you in Jenkins as well. So you can see that it will gonna be updated. And now let's go to the dashboard and let's see, is there a way wherein we can see the active and inactive number count and its plugins. You can see that updates 0 and none of my plugins requires updates. So then next panel should get this as the output. So let me do one thing. So I will disable any one of the plugin. Maybe I will disable this email extension plugin. Okay, so I made it as inactive. So in a while, so it will gonna take little time. So it is not real time. It will gonna update this particular value. So it will gonna take some time. So maybe until that we can update this panel. So it says panels that requires updates, plugins that requires update, and then the query will gonna change. So let me change the query. Plugins update. So this is the query that I require. So let me provide that particular one. So when I provide that, you can say the 0 is the value. That is a proper value. Okay, so now let us save this particular dashboard. And now, so let me refresh. So inactive plugin still it is 0 only. I'm not sure why it didn't go into inactive state. Okay, so let me remove this. So now let's see what is a plugin count at least. And plugin, I don't need it. Maybe I will remove this also, uninstall it. And updates, so none of my plugins requires update. So that's why it is showing 0 here and also 0 here. Before it was 92 plugins, right? Now, after some time, let's see what will be the plugin count actually. So I will gonna completely refresh the screen. So let's see what is the plugin count now. So maybe from Jenkins, Prometheus has to receive the data. From the Prometheus, then Grafana will receive the data. There might be a little delay in that particular data. So that's the reason I'm still not able to see that value, which is reflecting here. So that's fine. So now this is a dashboard that I wanted to show in this particular video. If you've liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe.